Hello and welcome, I'm Liam the Music Reviewer, and today we're going to be reviewing the hotly anticipated sophomore record from Kero Kero Bonito titled Time and Place. Now, wow, another Kero Kero Bonito video. Man, Liam, you're really giving this channel the shake up it desperately needs. Haven't you got some Sly Cooper hentai to be drawn? Anyway, Kero Kero Bonito are a London trio comprised of Sarah, Jamie and Gus, and have pretty much made their name on being one of the most kind of vibrant pop acts of the decade. Both Intro Bonito and Bonito Generation in 2014 and 2016 respectively pretty much just solidified that status for them. While there are definitely those who aren't a fan of the band's kind of sugary sweet aesthetic and find it pretty grating, I'm definitely not in that camp. I'm definitely more on the side of people who just find them just wholesome and uplifting, or just utterly cute and just really cheer me up. Bonito Generation is an album that I come back to time and time again whenever I'm just in dire need of a real boost emotionally. But as you probably know by now, KKB came back after what felt like a year or two break, but they did release an Oasis cover at some point, which was a bit odd. But they came back with Only Acting in February, I believe that was when it was released, and it was quite a change in direction. What seemed like a fairly standard, albeit entertaining, attempt at power pop just started to devolve into something more akin to Shoo Shoo, as waves of screaming and distortion transforms the track into an unsettling and a wholly interesting cut. While nothing off Totep, which was the EP released a few months back, or any of the singles preceding this album there wasn't any resemblance to Only Acting, they were still very high in terms of quality, so my excitement for this album remained consistently high over the past few months, even when it felt like the album just was going to take forever to come out. But when I heard that listeners from New Zealand and Japan had got their hands on it, due to it being midnight over there, October 1st, they got it. So pretty much it all kind of been delivered by each time zone, so I was like, right, I'm going to wait up till midnight. Just far too ecstatic to see what this is going to be like. And after a few listens, once it came out at midnight, and after many more, I thought, right, my opinion's pretty stern at this point. I really can't see it changing. I've just listened to it that many times. I thought I'll just let you guys know what I thought of this new album. But the question you're no doubt asking is this new direction that KKP are going down substantial at all? Does it transcend being just solely a gimmick? And most importantly, is it any good? First of all, I can definitely say that it's gave me more than enough to chew on. When it came to past material by Kero Kero Bonito, it was definitely more of a style thing when it came to any sort of lyrical content. There wasn't really all that much to dig into. It was quite of a shallow delve if you planned on digging into the lyrical content that they offered. You would rather get just some kind of cutesy shallow stuff, maybe a nostalgic reference, or some lines that you would go, right, I'm going to Google Translate, because I don't know what any of that means, because you're only capable of speaking English like me, sadly. But it's evident with Time and Place, that whole moodier indie rock sound that they were going for with Only Acting, though that kind of transcended just being moody indie rock, but you get what I mean. The far more melancholic and moody aura that Totep and the singles were exuding don't feel like a gimmick. They don't feel like they were just kind of put on just for the sake of it. It feels like a decision that was made that was just very genuine. Genuine is probably the right word to use there. Definitely by a trio of creative minds that were going through some hard times personally, and I think some people were maybe disappointed. I've mentioned it before in other reviews that I've done of Kero Kero Bonito's new material. I think people were disappointed that they're still not doing the whole cutesy shtick anymore, but I think if you were going through all the stuff that the band have went through, which was shown through a statement on the label that are on, I don't think you could put up that sort of I'm not saying that it was a facade before, but I think after that you pretty much not be in the right state of mind to do that sort of stuff that you were doing before without feeling just sort of like super disingenuous. Even through its more timid, tranquil and gorgeous moments, time and place can feel like you're eavesdropping into like a really personal conversation, like somebody on the bus in the seat in front of you is on the phone and you hear them crying and just talking away. It can feel like you're just like in the way and you can't help but like listening to what's being said. A track that jumps to mind when I think of this is Make Believe, which sees KKB just sort of repackaged, as I say, that really endearing aura. It's a really just delicious slice of twee pop, and it has these really fuzzy guitars which pop up a lot on this album, but like this is probably where that kind of hits the peak and I found the most sort of entertaining, and that's put in with like the usual synths, and all of it just results in what is seemingly, on the surface at least, an adorable little feel good track. However, you pull back a layer or two, and not only is what you're hearing far more confessional from the usual fare, at least in terms of KKB, but it could almost be a bit too real for you. There's definitely songs on here where I kind of went, oh shit, like that feels like it's like an indirect towards me, the listener. The songs usually see a protagonist which I'm just going to assume is just Sarah spouting all this stuff, so in that terms that's probably why it being confessional has so much more of a hit, because you're seeing this person that you're usually only experiencing through this ultra animated and vibrant sort of backdrop. Now that that's kind of been stripped back, our vocals, while our singing's never been like kind of like stupendous or over the top or that, it's usually been quite reserved, but like it's usually by the backdrop where this kind of transcends and never feels boring or robotic to me. And here I think that's whenever she's like narrating or talking about her very real problems, that's where it's having more of an impact on me. And in this song in general, it's her talking about lucid dreaming, and just how she admits to feeling happier when she's asleep, and how she uses that to avoid the real problems in her life. And you could probably you could take this song and you could swap out dreaming with any other sort of like coping mechanism and it would still work all the same. But I feel like with some of the lines and some of the visualization that crops up on this track, it works surprisingly well. It's probably the most kind of upbeat song you'll ever hear, at least in this year, that talks about depression. Just being in that super happy clothing somehow feels totally natural for the band. It doesn't feel like a compromise where they aren't going far enough. It does feel, and I hate to keep using the word, but it does feel like a genuine wee track. There's Time Today as well, a song that I reviewed before that deals mainly with some pretty by the numbers drumming and lush, hypnotic and simple synths, as we get like a hopeful anthem about waking up early, getting ready to face the day and just taking on whatever problems lie ahead, whatever challenges you have to face in that set day. And that really wouldn't be out of place on something like Bonito Generation, which had songs that were quite inspiring, upbeat, motivating. My dog's butt just shaked the camera there, but I'm just going to keep this cut in. But yeah, it would not be out of place on an album such as that. But despite that, there are certain lines that are sprinkled throughout that just imply that Sarah is really just kind of distracting herself. She's just got this list that she'll focus on, and if she can focus on that list, then she'll never actually be dealing with what's really getting her down. She won't be getting the help that she actually needs in like whatever is bothering her, whatever fears she's got. If she just thinks if she can do something else, then she'll be fine. But there's a line about how, and this like whole visual metaphor near the end where she basically goes how she would, if the sun goes down and never comes back up, will I notice again? And obviously like her very cutesy vocals are just very endearing, but like that there's like a hint of sadness behind it, like some sort of like naivety behind it, where just like you could just brush it off as just being like something like classic Sarah, but when you let it sort of like sink in, you're like, oh shit, like maybe you've been in that sort of position before, but it does feel like a really compelling confessional song to me, that even on a surface level, if you don't want to dive into what Sarah has to say, still has its appeal. Dear Future Self talks about personal identity a wee bit, but I can't really bring up this song without mentioning just that production. It sounds like it could just slip into like an N64 soundtrack or like a PS1 game, like whatever, like a console of that time, which I find quite apt considering the fact that this is like Sarah's past self talking to her now, and there's not like that time frame's never really established, like if that was maybe like Sarah like from 2015 talking to her now. Obviously the song was made recently, but like those thoughts, like you can't really like put a set time and place where that was happening. But yeah, so I feel like it kind of just shows that those like these kind of like kind of upbeat, like things are going good in that, but also I'm still really scared about what might happen. The way that Sarah words herself here, there isn't like a huge change in like her delivery in that, which I don't really find much of an issue, because like I feel with how this all like mixes in with the backdrop, and just with how triumphant it all is with the strings and all that, it would be kind of like jarring in that for me for that change to occur. But the fact that this song kind of struck me as being just like this just solely wholesome track that's trying to be really uplifting, and was able to kind of make me go, oh, this song words feelings I've had for years in a way that I've never really managed to like hear them be put in that way. Yeah, was something, struck me quite a little bit. Time and Place definitely feels like an album that's attempting to weave a sort of narrative about someone just kind of like struggling and just trying to see how they deal with how they're feeling, usually by like focus on miscellaneous things, locations, events, just like I say, in order to distract themselves, kind of like try and find something beautiful from them that will just kind of like make them feel better. There's a song Dump that I just find really, really soothing. It's just wholeheartedly dreamy and just feels like you're kind of like floating about on top of this like really mellow stream, which isn't something I would expect from a song that just kind of revolves around documenting people as they are going to the titular place, leaving their junk and all useless objects. There's a song Sometimes that just feels like a group of friends, and it was recorded with a group of the band's real friends. It feels like it's just been done like around a campfire, and they're all just kind of like, you know what, like sometimes things are really tough, but you've always got your friends there, and you're always gonna you're gonna get better in that. And it's a really just like really like nice touching moment on an album that can feel like it's kind of sinking, sulking in to that despair sometimes. Someone does the same thing as Dump as well, by talking about like being down on the beach and all that. Something that's kind of like, I would say is mundane for a lot of people. It's not quite like how when you're a kid, but like it's trying to like recapture that time of innocence by like having like really sun-laden guitars, which really like tap into that Django pop dopamine receptor. And while the drums kind of feel a bit stocky on here, that's something I can say about the album in general. I don't think the streamlined feel goodness of this song is ever kind of detracted because of that. Much like Sometimes, it's kind of like one of the few moments where like the dreariness and just kind of melancholy isn't too much, isn't kind of like claustrophobic at all. The narrative in the album as a whole is tied up in the closing track Rest Stop, and oh boy, when I first heard this, like what time was it, like probably like just before 1 o'clock in the morning, the early hours of the morning at least, I just felt really dirty, like I needed like a bath or something. It starts off with these lovely jangly keys setting the stage for another cutesy affair to close everything off before just transmuting into this strange otherworldly creature, just these sirens and static, bubbling groans, whirring and all sorts of like deranged sounds all floating about in the left audio channel. It feels like you're really like in the belly of the beast, which is just a visualization of just this kind of like horror of mental illness that is obviously kind of like really taking over Sarah at this point. And then on the right audio channel, you can just hear like Sarah's trademark soothing vocals kind of like trying to like fight off all of the horror. This clash and contrast, even at this point, I find it really hard to word, but it almost feels like it's too much. It almost feels like you're kind of like drowning in it, so it really does capture that feeling. I think for some people they will find it kind of janky, maybe like lacking the sort of melody that makes them like Kero Kero Bonito so much, but for me, I found this super interesting. Just an unexpectedly sinister conclusion, especially how like the final line gets cut off. I think what Sarah's trying to say is you don't want to be alone because of what's surrounding you. You don't want to like kind of get into your head too much, but it just like cuts off so you don't want to be, and that's it. It's kind of like a non-ending, but for me there's definitely like an interpretation you can take away from that, which definitely made this album kind of end on a note that I was just was not expecting at all. In terms of stuff that brought down my enjoyment of the album a notch, I need to mention the drumming again, which is usually fine, but at various points, as I put earlier on, just feels kind of stocky and artificial. Only in a handful of tracks that really like feel at all satisfying. And then there's a classic complaint, but not really a complaint, where some songs just aren't as strong as the highlights on here, but I really can't recall like a proper dud at any point. I just really wasn't expecting Kero Kero Bonito to really like balance the fuzzier, distorted side of things that they'd showcased before the album came out with their trademark sweet style, but they managed to go back and forth between the both, often mixing both from the same song, and the lyrical material is just unexpectedly confessional, encapsulating and evocative. I really had a great time just kind of like digging into it, just interpreting it how I did, and maybe you've got a different interpretation to me, but I do feel this is like a really like good confessional album that really does put Kero Kero Bonito on an interesting new path, and if they decide to like change it up on the next album or whatever, then good for them, but like they're definitely showing just how versatile they are. I can see this album taking place being a much more melancholic album, a lot different, but I can see it having the same sort of appeal that Bonito Generation has had for me, where I can come back to this whenever I'm feeling that sort of way. And whereas Bonito Generation is more comforting, I can feel some more sort of like kind of like camaraderie and all that, like somebody like knows how you're feeling and it manages to word it in that sort of way, and sometimes you kind of need that. In terms of a score, I'm feeling a decent to solid 8 out of 10 for me here. Just had a good time, and would further recommend it to people even if you hate them. Talking to you, David Rowe, give it a go, see what you make of it. But if you guys have listened to it, let me know your favourite tracks, your least favourite tracks, a score, let me know all that fun stuff down in the comments below. On Wednesday or Thursday I should have a new feature up, which will be interesting. But until then guys, thank you for watching, stay safe and stay hydrated.